So for this video, I'm going to be discussing all of the concerts that I've attended in my life. I've been to quite a few, maybe not as many that I would have liked to have gone to, because there's definitely some bands and artists that I really wish I would have been able to see, but either they're too expensive or they're dead, So for this video, I'm just going to be talking about all of the ones that I've been to, that I've seen, that I've enjoyed. I've never really been to a bad concert, so all of these concerts I'm going to talk about, I really did enjoy. I'm going to try to go in chronological order. A lot of this is kind of hazy, I should say, because quite a few, and I don't really quite remember. I definitely remember my very first one, and then I actually remember my last three because I attended all of them with my wife, now wife. I think at the time we were either dating or engaged. But yeah, I definitely remember those being the last three for now. I'm definitely going to attend concerts in the future. But yeah, for this one, I'm just going to talk about all the different concerts that I've seen in my life. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the one that started it all off, my very first concert that I attended, my dad actually took me to see Green Day when I was, I believe, 10 or 11 years old. No, I was 11. It was 2005, so I was definitely 11. And this was, of course, right at their, popularity of American Idiot coming out. And that's the album that I that was my first obsession with an album. I became obsessed with that album, listened to it from start to finish, and Green Day, they blew me away. The opening band, I think, was like My Chemical Romance, so technically they were the first band, but I really didn't. I think I remember them having like a backup singer or something, or maybe even like it was a different band, but like they were not good. I remember them being not good, but then Green Day came out and blew me away, and they were just amazing. They started out, of course, with like American Idiot, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday, and then they skipped Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and like my 11-year-old self is like turning to my dad like, why aren't they playing Boulevard of Broken Dreams? And of course that was their encore. It's like, yeah! But yeah, they played a bunch of American Idiot stuff, and then they started playing, their 90s stuff, like Basket Case, When I Come Around, Longview, and then a bunch of stuff from Insomniac and Nimrod and Warning. And then they ended, like I said, with like Wake Me Up When September Ends, Boulevard of Broken Dreams. So yeah, they really blew me away, and then Green Day definitely became my favorite band at the time. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite concert experiences, Yeah, because it was the first time, and yeah, I definitely will always remember that. I also got to see a few bands, kind of like free concerts at Busch Gardens. I would go to Busch Gardens a lot in middle school. Like my parents would just drop me off and a couple of friends, and that summer I remember there being like a lot of like classic rock bands. Like, oh, I know a couple of their songs. Let's go see them. I think one of the first ones was Grand Funk Railroad, and basically like the first hour, I didn't really know the songs. Like they were good, but then kind of like the last half hour, they actually started playing songs that I really liked. Of course, they played Some Kind of Wonderful, We're an American Band. I think We're an American Band was their closing song. Locomotion. They played Closer to Home, I'm Your Captain. They played a couple of songs, but that was like kind of their closing set, and those were the songs I knew, and I was like, finally, like some songs that I know. But yeah, they were really good. Another band was Kansas, and of course at the time I really only knew like 3 songs by them, and of course their encore, can you guess? Carry On Wayward Son, of course. They also played Fight Fire with Fire. They played Dust in the Wind. What's their other song? Point of No Return. So again, kind of like with Grand Funk, they played a lot of their best stuff at the very end, and Carry On Wayward Son was one of the coolest like encore songs because it's just an amazing song. So that was a fun concert. I also got to see Foreigner play live there, and their whole set list was just their hit songs. I've mentioned before in a previous video that like, I'm really happy just listening to Foreigner's biggest hits. Like they don't really have a lot of deep cuts, so like their concert was a lot of fun just because they have a lot of hit songs. And funny enough, I've actually seen Foreigner live twice. One time was in middle school, and then another time was when I was an adult, like in my late 20s. I went with my mom, and they literally played the exact same set list. I kid you not. So they've literally been touring for years and years, just playing the hits the entire time. So they were good. They were good both times I saw them. So give it to them. Also in middle school, I got to see ZZ Top live. That was a lot of fun, and they're a very fun like theatrical band. Like they've got, like they got the beards and they got the fuzzy guitars and they spin them around, and they played a lot of good songs. A couple of songs, at the time I didn't really know, but grew to love them. But of course they played their hits, Sharp Dressed Man, Tush, Give Me All Your Lovin', Got Me Under Pressure. So they played all the hits, and it was a lot of fun. This next one, I guess, technically wasn't a concert. It was more of a play. In ninth grade, I got to go to London with my high school band because we were performing in the New Year's Day parade. And one of the things we got to see was kind of I don't even know what it was called, but it was a musical based off of like the music of Queen. It was a very weird show. It was like the apocalypse, and people were like discovering music. And of course, a lot of it was Queen. And the entire time, I didn't really know, but like Queen was actually playing the music, like in the rafters, like they were playing the music. And so kind of a concert, but also kind of a play. But at the very end, they of course ended with Bohemian Rhapsody. So they got all the singers singing it. And then Brian May comes out with his guitar and does the guitar solo, which blew my mind when I was in ninth grade. So I do kind of count that because I got to see Brian May play the guitar solo, which was a lot of fun. I also got to see Paul McCartney play, and that was one of the best shows I've ever seen because, Paul McCartney, not a young dude. I think he was like in his 70s at the time, but he had no opening act, and he literally played for like 3.5 hours nonstop and just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. So yeah, it was, a couple of the songs I didn't know because they were off of, maybe they were like random Wings songs or random solo stuff, but a lot of just classic Paul McCartney stuff with Wings and a lot of classic Beatles stuff. And yeah, it was just so much fun. How many times can I say that in this video? It was so much fun. Well, they were, damn it. I also got to see Slash perform live, and this was after kind of his solo album. And if you haven't listened to it, I'll link it here, or it propped up here. It was his solo album, and every song kind of had like a different singer attached to it. But when he was touring, it was with Miles Kennedy. And basically what Slash did, he played, Guns N' Roses stuff. He played Velvet Revolver stuff. He played his new stuff. And yeah, it was just a mishmash of all of that, and it was, am I gonna say it again, it was a lot of fun. But it was also just one of the loudest concerts because it was a very small venue of like maybe like 1,000 or so people jam-packed into this inside concert venue called the Norva, and we waited in line and we got like right at the front. So I was literally like 5 feet away from Slash as he's playing Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, Slither. So yeah, he was incredible. I also got to see Creed live, which, at the time, they weren't really like a favorite band, but it was kind of a cheap concert. It was like $30, and I was like, I know a couple Creed songs. Let's go see Creed. And they were actually really good. I think at the time they were making a comeback because they had came out with a new album, trying to support that. But really, everyone was there for, can you take me higher? So yeah, they obviously ended with that, and then basically like their last 4 songs were like their biggest songs. So like With Arms Wide Open, Higher, One, or no, what's they did play that, but what are their other songs? One Last Breath is the one that I'm thinking of, and then also My Sacrifice, My Own Prison. But yeah, they played a lot of their big hits, and it was great. They're still one of my favorite bands, and I've gone back and listened to a few of their deeper cuts. I really like them. I've also got to see Stone Temple Pilots play twice, I think in the same year actually. One time they played at the Norva, like kind of like that small inside venue I was talking about. And then another one they played at like Virginia Beach, like on the beach. A lot of fun. And yeah, it was great because I got to see them play live twice before Scott Weiland actually passed away. And they played a lot of their hit songs, and they also played a lot of songs that I wasn't very familiar with. But afterwards, and since, I've gone back and listened to like all of their albums, and they've actually become one of my favorite bands of all time. I'd probably put them in my top 25, maybe even top 20 at this point, because I really like all their stuff. So I'm really glad I got to see them live twice before Scott Weiland passed away. And if you've seen my previous videos, you know how much I love the band Steely Dan. And kind of like with Scott Weiland, I'm really glad I got to see them live. I got to see them live twice before one of their founding members, Walter Becker, passed away. And he passed away like shortly after I got to see them live. I got to see them live twice, and they played a lot of their big hits, of course. At every show they would kind of play like a random song or two, and that was always fun. I really wanted them to play my favorite song, Bad Sneakers, and I was always looking at their set list like, oh, they played Bad Sneakers there. They never did. I never got to see them play Bad Sneakers, but all of their songs that they did were great. And of course, Steely Dan is known for having great musicians play around them. Their drummer was really good, even though I don't really know who it is. That all of it was great. So I'm really glad I got to see Steely Dan live twice before the passing of Walter Becker. I also got to see Huey Lewis and the News, which is actually my mom's favorite band and favorite artist. Like, she loves Huey Lewis. She's seen Huey Lewis live probably a dozen times or so or more. And I actually got to go take her to one. And I was a fan. Like, I liked all his big hits. And basically he played all his big hits, except for one, which is my favorite Huey Lewis song. And I was really expecting him to play it like towards the end of the show. He never did, though. It's called Hip to Be Square, if you don't know. He literally played like all of their big hit songs except Hip to Be Square. I think he might not like it because it was used in the horror movie American Psycho, and maybe he's like, maybe I shouldn't play it anymore. But it's such a good song. But yeah, the rest of the concert was very good. Mainly hits, and then I think maybe like a couple of songs from like his newer stuff that I wasn't as familiar with. But overall, it was a great show. And my mom was very happy because she loves Huey Lewis. I also got to see Tool live, which was a lot of fun. I think this was 2019, maybe like, it was like right before COVID hit, and you couldn't go anywhere, definitely not at a concert venue anyway. And this was a fun concert because I got to go with two of my good buddies, Cody, who loves Tool, his favorite band of all time, and he finally got to see them live, so that's a lot of fun. And then I went with another buddy, Nick, and funny enough, this was his very first concert. And keep in mind, this is like a guy in his mid-20s. I was like, this is your first concert, and it's going to be Tool? You're going to be blown away. And he was. It was a great concert, maybe a little shorter than I would have liked, but their music is just so hard-hitting and complicated, so I'm fine with them only playing for just like slightly less than 2 hours, I think, with an intermission. But it was still really good. Their set list was really good. I also got to see the Australian Pink Floyd show twice. And if you don't know, obviously Pink Floyd's not really a band anymore. They're not touring. They're old. But a really good replacement, if you want to see Pink Floyd, is the Australian Pink Floyd show. They sound exactly the same. And when I mean that, I really mean that. Like, you go to see them, and every instrument, all the vocals, they sound just like Pink Floyd. It's incredible. And Pink Floyd's my third favorite band of all time. So to get to see them play a lot of my favorite songs, and every show they kind of throw in like a random song here or there, like maybe they wouldn't normally play them, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did want to see them last year when they were doing kind of like their Dark Side of the Moon, like 50th anniversary stuff. They played Dark Side of the Moon in its entirety, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. I wish I would have been able to see that, but I didn't have time, or I didn't want to spend the money to do that. But I'm glad I got to see them twice. They're really good. I would definitely see them again and again because they are amazing. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that I mentioned that my dad took me to my very first concert, which was Green Day. His last concert, actually, before he passed away in 2020, I took him to go see Australian Pink Floyd show, and he really enjoyed it, probably more than he thought he would. And yeah, that's a really good memory I have of my dad, like a few months before he passed away. So did want to mention that. And then of course we hit like 2020, COVID happened, so I don't really get to go to concerts for a while. The first one I get to go kind of after COVID calms down a little bit is actually Lords of 52nd Street, which is a really fun band because it's a Billy Joel cover band, except the band itself is actually the members of Billy Joel's old band in the 70s that he toured with and made albums with. But the only thing is, Billy Joel himself, they have a replacement who kind of looks like him and sounds exactly like him. So the concert was phenomenal. And of course, this was like right after COVID. So it was just a lot of fun to go see live music again. And they played all the hits and they threw in a couple random deep cuts, I would say. And yeah, it was just so much fun. And then a little while after that, I got to visit my brother and his wife in Texas after they had their baby. And I actually went with an ulterior motive too. I mean, obviously I went for them. But I also got to see Dream Theater live, which one of my all-time favorite bands. Definitely one of my favorite progressive metal bands. And I got to see them live. They were really good. And of course it was with Mike Mangini. Now they have Mike Portnoy. Now I have to try to figure out if I can see Mike Portnoy live in concert because he's one of my all-time favorites. But Mike Mangini was still great nonetheless. Their set list was really good. I was hoping they would play a couple of songs here and there. There were a couple of song choices. I was like, it's good, but maybe something else would have been cool. But overall, a lot of great songs. They played Endless Sacrifice, which was really good. And the highlight of the concert was they ended, the encore song was The Count of Tuscany, which is probably my favorite Dream Theater song. So them ending with that was just phenomenal. And I would definitely see them live again. Hopefully I can, now that Mike Portnoy is back with the band. Oh man, that's going to be so much fun. But yeah, Dream Theater was fantastic. And speaking of progressive metal, a few months after that, or maybe, it's hard for me to remember the timeline exactly, but a little while after that, I actually got to see Haken live with my wife Stacy. And again, Haken, another really good progressive metal band. And I always flip-flop back and forth between which one I like better, Dream Theater or Haken. It usually depends on like which one of their albums just dropped. But at the time, Haken had just dropped their new album, Fauna, which is a top 10 album for me all time. I love it so much. And my wife was kind enough to go with me. And again, we visited my brother and his wife in DC. They were living in Texas, now they're living in DC. And we kind of, arranged it so we could visit them and go to the Haken concert. And it was a lot of fun. They played a lot of their new songs off of their album, but they played a lot of epic songs from The Mountain and Virus, and their musicality was just unheard of, and it was so much fun. And Stacy, not really her kind of music, but she still enjoyed it, so that was good. Just in terms of musicality and time signature changes and all of that, like they were just, they blew me away. And the last two I have to mention were very special because they're both Led Zeppelin related, and I actually got to see both of these because was given to them for my birthday. Also I forgot to mention, there's a Led Zeppelin tribute band called Zosos, and in the timeline of all of this, I got to see Zosos live, I believe once when I was in high school, and then once when I was in college. They both blew me away. And of course, Led Zeppelin's my all-time favorite band. So seeing this really good tribute band playing just a bunch of classic Led Zeppelin songs was amazing. And it's fun because every show they kind of switch it up. They, with sometimes they have like songs that they would always play. Like they're always going to play Stairway. They're always going to play Rock and Roll, and Black Dog and Heartbreaker. But then, they'll throw in some other songs here and there. And yeah, and I think they usually try to throw in a song that maybe Led Zeppelin themselves would never play live or hardly ever. So one time they played When the Levee Breaks, one time they played Livin' Lovin' Maid, one time they played Jamaica. So they're really good about choosing a variety of Zeppelin songs, and they sound really good. But yeah, so I got to see them in high school and in college, and then Stacy actually took me for my birthday to see them just last year, and they were really good again, which was funny because it's like almost, or yeah, 10 years later. So yeah, they still sound really good. And then the last concert I went to, my mom actually got us tickets to see the Jason Bonham Led Zeppelin experience. And if you don't know who Jason Bonham is, that's the son of my favorite drummer, John Bonham, who of course passed away in 1980 from Led Zeppelin. And Jason Bonham is also a really good drummer, and he's been touring with some guys who sound just like Zeppelin, and they go around playing Zeppelin music. So I got to see 2 Zeppelin concerts basically for my birthday, my 30th birthday. So that was a lot of fun. And Stacy does like some Zeppelin songs, and they did play, you know, some of her favorite songs like Immigrant Song and Black Dog. So yeah, she enjoyed it as well. And yeah, I had a really fun time with her. And yeah. And also for the Jason Bonham experience, it was fun because not only did they play, you know, the Led Zeppelin songs that we all know and love, but every once in a while he would kind of sit down and talk about his dad, John Bonham, his drumming stuff, and like just random stories from what he could remember. And yeah, that was a real treat. So yeah, definitely glad Stacy took me to go see Zosos, the Led Zeppelin tribute band, and Jason Bonham Led Zeppelin experience. All right, so those are all the concerts that I've attended in my lifetime. For now. I'm sure, hopefully, I will get to see many more live bands in the future. But yeah, if I had to pick like some of my favorites, I would say Green Day, my very first concert with my dad. That's really hard to beat. But also getting to see Paul McCartney and Slash, Steely Dan, and of course all of the Led Zeppelin tribute bands, and Jason Bonham, but also Dream Theater and Haken. So it's really hard to narrow down, but just because I have so many favorite bands that I've gotten to see live. If you guys want to see a video where I talk about bands that I wish I would have been able to see or that I still want to see, definitely comment that down below. Also, comment down below what you think of the bands that I got to see, and definitely let me know what your favorite concerts were that you've seen in your lifetime. I want to know all of that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yep, like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!